This is Nick Fuentes. If you're unfamiliar, he's like a far-right, literal Nazi, like Hitler-loving, Sieg-heiling Nazi, right? And he went on Tucker Carlson's show recently and said some real psychotic stuff. Oh my God, dude. He is on an upswing at this immediate moment, like the Nazi movement in the US is on a massive upswing. It's disturbing. And I looked at a recent poll that said basically 71% of Republicans support Israel. And in my mind, there are basically two camps of Republicans. There are Christian nationalist Zionists who believe that Jesus can't return until Israel fully belongs to the Jews, and then he'll return at the site of the third temple, blah, 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 all that junk. And neo-Nazis. Those are the two groups in the Republican Party. So 71% of the Republican Party supports Israel, and 29%, I guess, do not support Israel. They support Palestine explicitly. And I'm taking that as a sign of roughly what percent of the Republican Party is made up of neo-Nazis. Now, Nick Fuentes pretty much runs the neo-Nazi wing of the Republican Party. He's the head of the Groyper movement, as they call it. So let's listen to what he had to say on Tucker Carlson. This is just a compilation of a few quick clips, and we'll dive into it a little bit more in a minute.
It was December 18th. I remember because that's an important date to me. And it's Joseph Stalin's birthday. I'm a fan.
He's a fan of Stalin. I did not know that. That actually blows me away. I'm surprised by that. Because he's also a fan of Hitler. Like, he has said that. He has said those words, I like Hitler. And they didn't exactly get along. But I guess it's the authoritarianism that he likes the most about each of them. Of course, Fuentes famously hung out with Kanye West. He went on Alex Jones with Kanye West. And Kanye, while on the show with Nick and Alex Jones, said, I love Hitler. Yeah, this is just an example. So right here is Nick Fuentes on the right with Kanye West. Fuentes was like a political operative for Kanye West when he was running for president, quote unquote.
Good guy. I get the Hugo Boss uniforms, amazing. But I mean, just because you're in love with the design, you're a designer. Can we just kind of say like you like the uniforms, but that's about it?
There's a lot of things that I love about Hitler. A lot of things. Hey.
Fuentes actually debated Alex Jones later, like a month after this, on whether Hitler was a good guy. Fuentes held the position that Hitler was good. I mean, that should tell you all you need to know about him.
You're a fan of Stalin's. Mm-hmm. I was an admirer, but...
Was it because of the extreme crackdowns? Because he destroyed his political opponents, killed them brutally? What? I saw somebody on Reddit the other day talking about how great of a guy Stalin was. Like, what the How did we get here, of all places? Like, Stalin ostensibly, at face value, supported workers' rights, but he didn't. That's the thing, he didn't. If you're pro-Stalin, you're pro-violence, pro-destroying people's lives, pro-authoritarianism. Stalin is not known for supporting workers like he claimed to. He was a monster. And this is all the evidence you should need. The fact that this neo-Nazi supports him, right?
But we don't need to go into that. The other thing I'm really worried about is what's happening at these ICE detention centers. And I see all the ingredients of like a low-boil civil conflict, full-blown civil war.
If you're the president, what do you do about that?
I think, maybe this is controversial, but they have to crush the other side. Like, it has to be crushed. But if you do anything less than that, if you do in the middle, all you're doing is antagonizing and feeding the other side. If I were Trump, I would say, screw 200 National Guard, like arrest the mayor of Chicago, like arrest the governor.
Fuentes is actually anti-Trump right now. He's on an anti-Trump kick because Trump is not being violent enough. Because he's not deporting enough people, seriously. He said he's going to burn his MAGA hat recently because he's not doing enough deportations. Fuentes said, Trump promised us 3,000 deportations a day, and he's only doing like 700. And they used to tell us what the number was. They reported the number, but they stopped reporting the number not too long ago. And Fuentes says that's because they know that they're not doing enough deportations, basically.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
shut it down. Bring in the troops and say the federal government is supreme. The immigration law is the law of the land. If you're not on board with that, you're going to jail.
So regarding Fuentes and Trump,
I never told anybody to vote for Kamala, and I didn't either. I think she would have been a disaster in her own special way. But I said in some ways, this makes her less dangerous in a certain sense, because if she did the things that Trump is doing now, nobody would stomach it. If she buried the Epstein files, there'd be a riot in the streets. If she bombed Iran, every conservative would be speaking out.
he did not like the Iran thing at all. He fucking hates Israel because Jews live there, and that's like basically the only reason. He doesn't support Palestine. He just fucking hates Jews.
And screaming in opposition, except for maybe Mark Levin. If she said, we're going to give an amnesty for the farm workers, which, by the way, that's a Biden program. Biden was going to do that. If she did it, nobody would be defending it. But because it's Trump, because it's him, there's going to be a major section of the right wing of the disaffected white working class that's going to find every excuse to say it's all part of the plan. Here's why it's actually a good thing. You know, TikTok, we just have to wait a few more years. And then, you know, Guantanamo Bay, QAnon is going to be lining up James Coney and, you know, all these other people. So in some sense, there's a special danger with Trump, which is, and I said this at the beginning of the year, it's this exuberance. He really came in the second term. And I think maybe that's what it is, thinking he could get away with anything, thinking, and you know, you can almost empathize with that mindset. If you survived what he survived, if you've been through what he's been through in the past 10 years, you would think, I'm Napoleon, I'm crowning myself, like I'm untouchable. And it's July, we're halfway through the first year, and he's losing even as you said, he's even lost cat turd, even cat turd.
Again, Trump is scandal proof, actually. And he does things that piss people off. And at this moment in history, this is mid-July 2025, he had done something that Trump supporters didn't like. I think it was the Epstein file thing. But it faded to the background, and he lost almost no support. There's a contingency of MAGA-Potamians who will never deviate from Trump. He could literally take advantage of a child on video in front of the world, and it would not matter. To 35%, in my opinion, of the US. Here's another video of Fuentes turning on Trump.
I'm done playing these games. I just see these people. And for somebody that's been doing it for not even as long as him, but I've been doing this for 8 years since the first Trump administration started. I've seen it for so long, and Trump's just not getting it right. And I just shake my head. I see these people. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make our voice heard. We're going to tell them we really don't want an amnesty. And I just shake my head. I'm like, yeah, sorry, I'm not doing it. I won't do it. And I think the only solution is this. We need to burn our MAGA hats. I think that's a solution. That's the only language Trump will understand.
I find it fascinating that this guy is kind of leading the opposition to Trump in the Republican Party. And wildly, he is to Trump's right, as if it was even possible. Sign up for my Patreon. I'd really appreciate that very much. It would mean so much to me. This is like a really precarious moment in history, in U.S. history, and for me personally, so it would mean a lot if you sign up for my Patreon. Check out cultarchive.org. I did a cult test, basically, where you can see if you're in a cult, and you can look at the historical tests of other groups that already went through this. Also, check out my merch. I have a whole bunch of really cool shirts and stuff. Really interesting. I would really appreciate that.
Needs to be abandoned at this point. You bombed Iran. You're talking about an amnesty for illegals. And people say, well, maybe he'll do it. Maybe he won't. It doesn't. You shouldn't be talking about an amnesty. You said mass deportations. Now you're talking about we're going to let these illegals stay in our country and take our jobs. What was the point of any of it? And then before we can even digest that crap, now he's going to tell us there's no Epstein black book. There's no client list. The message needs to be this. We're done. We don't understand. The radical right is f***ing furious. We are done. Forget the midterms. Forget 28. F*** you, f*** Vance, the GOP, all of it.
What disturbs me about Fuentes is you can only really cancel somebody once. So you better make it good. Because whatever it is that they do, if they survive, all of their followers that come in afterward are by definition, going to be okay with that thing that they were canceled over. They're going to move their moral compass that much to allow themselves to listen to him and watch him and appreciate the things that he says. I don't think that cancel culture is a problem, quote unquote cancel culture. I think that's like a made up term that the right uses for when they want to be racist and they have to face accountability. But sometimes people do jump the gun a little bit on making a big public spectacle of something that people did, and when it's not worth it, when it's really not quite bad enough to justify. And if that happens and they survive, they come out the other side even worse. Look at Donald Trump. Literally took advantage of women and was found civilly liable for that in court. Committed 34 felonies, was charged and sentenced. He committed an insurrection on the U.S. Capitol. And everybody is just okay with that because they had already moved their moral compass that much to be okay with him in the first place. And I guarantee that the vast majority of Trump supporters, they probably don't know all the that he did, right? But they support him. So when somebody says, how can you support somebody that takes advantage of women? Or how can you support an insurrectionist or this or that or whatever other thing that he's done? When someone says that, they are now in the position where they have to defend it. They're in the defensive position against it. And it locks them into their position even deeper. Anyway, Fuentes disturbs the hell out of me because he's very well spoken. He's very intelligent. He knows what he's talking about. And he knows how to manipulate the media like nobody's business. And he is scandal proof now. He survived a canceling. He said a bunch of Nazi and a bunch of, Breitbart and Glenn Beck and some other news agencies or media personalities or whatever said, I'm cutting ties with him, I'm done. This is like years ago. And here he is on Tucker Carlson. He went on Patrick Bet-David. He's famous again. Fuentes is now scandal proof, which is a prerequisite to a personality cult, being scandal proof. That's concerning. But you know what? Let me just play a couple more clips of Fuentes so you have an idea of what kind of a scumbag he is.
J.D. Vance also has a non-white wife, an Indian wife, and a kid named Vivek. All his kids have Indian names. So it's like, what exactly are we getting here? And that's not a dig at him just because I'm a racist or something. But it's like, who is this guy really? Do we really expect that the guy who has an Indian wife and named their kid Vivek is going to support white identity? Like, there's a white genocide going on in the world. White people are being systematically replaced in America and Europe.
It's just complete nonsense, obviously.
Through immigration and to a much lesser extent due to intermarrying. This guy has a non-white wife and a kid named Vivek.
Due to intermarrying. Obviously, he's against interracial marriage.
This guy is going to be a defender of white identity? I don't think so. This guy's going to defend American identity? If he does, it's going to be no better than any of these other civic nationalists like Vivek Ramaswamy.
I think the name is Vivek, but okay, you get the idea. This is one of his more famous moments recently. After Trump won, he did this.
Feel when we control your bodies? Hey, we control your bodies. Guess what? Guys win again, okay? Men win again. And yes, we control your bodies. Hi. I'm your Republican congressman. Hi, I'm your Republican congressman. It's your body, my choice. And men, women again. Men win again. There will never, ever be a female president.
This got people to come to his house and kind of harass him. Somebody showed up after that.
Hi. Oh my God, what are you doing?
And he pepper sprayed her.
Out of here.
Pepper sprayed her, pushed her off the porch, got arrested for battery, assault and battery. Anyway, he's just a complete scumbag, is the point. Tell me what you think in the comments.